J. Lakhani, an excellent communicator of Hinduism in Britain and director of the Hindu Academy, the Vivekananda Centre in London. Over the last 15 years, Sri Lakhani has given talks on Hinduism to thousands of youngsters at English schools, colleges and universities. If you wish to get a glimpse of the modern, dynamic face of Hinduism, then do not miss this series of talks.
This morning we have Mr. J. Lakhani, who is the tutor to the Hindu class, which he's done for about 6 years in this period when we have set up particular arrangements for faith groups throughout the school, which we think is a major development actually in the way that we think about the religious provision in the place. Mr. Lakhani is the director of the Hindu Academy in Wembley, which is devoted to the academic study of Hinduism. He's going to speak today on connecting up modern developments in science, which is his first specialization, with the deeper vision of religions and particularly of Hinduism. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. See, let me tell you, my background is actually theoretical physics. I studied at Imperial College and I did my master's in quantum mechanics and relativity with somebody very famous called Sir Roger Penrose. So I come from a very strong science background. And it's not hippie science, it's very robust understanding of what is this nature all about. Now, the way I'm going to start my talk, you may feel I'm really giving you a lecture on science, but don't worry, we'll bring in Hinduism as well. Listen, the cutting-edge discoveries of modern science are so thrilling and so magnanimous that I am suggesting that in the next decade, the way youngsters will become spiritually oriented is through the findings and the cutting-edge discoveries of modern science. Let me begin my journey with physics. That is my specialty. In physics, since 1920s, we discovered something so dynamic, so dramatic, so mind-blowing that even now, after nearly 100 years, scientists struggle to make sense of this phenomena they discovered at the heart of physics. Now, physics is the most pretentious of all sciences. It says, we have answers to everything. Mr. Dawkins, if you want to know your DNA, come to us, we'll sort you out. The chemists, the biologists, everybody has to come to physics to sort out the nitty-gritty, the fabric of reality. So right at the heart of physics, the most physical of physical science, it can explain your DNA, your computer chip, everything, sits a phenomena called quantum. Now most people, the moment they hear the word quantum, they think something weird, and something kind of fuzzy. The contrary, it's the most dynamic and most exciting discovery of modern times. Let me tell you what it says. So I'm trying to present to you very esoteric ideas of science in very layman's terms so that you can kind of grasp it and get access to it and don't feel worried by it. I will avoid using scientific jargon because that puts people off. So what is quantum all about? Let me tell you. We discovered that as we are trying to make sense of the world that we live in, the areas where we found kind of more exciting material was when you're looking at the smaller than the smallest. So when we're kind of digging deeper into the nature of reality, atom, and then we've got these kind of elementary particles, and then we've got hadrons, and then we've got all these kind of strings and all that. As we dug deeper into the nature of reality, we discovered the quantum phenomena. Why is it so interesting? The quantum phenomena, especially the Copenhagen interpretation, which came with the fathers of quantum mechanics, says the following. It says, friends, we have been fixated on matter for long enough. We like to explain the whole universe in terms of matter and its epiphenomena. Oh, here is a little atom, it's got a mass, a charge, and a spin. Oh, we can explain everything by just explaining reducing everything to matter and its epiphenomena. It seemed to work for 2,000 years. This is how you got your physical science, electromagnetism, everything is to do with matter and its epiphenomena. Now, this particular paradigm has worked extremely well until we discovered the quantum. The quantum said, hey, hang on chaps, this is Erwin Schrödinger, the father of quantum mechanics. He said, if you try and think that you could explain this creation in terms of sticks and stones or smaller versions of sticks and stones, like these pesky little atoms, my friends, you are going to fall short. What we have discovered in quantum is that the underpinning to this reality, despite appearances, see this material world we are so empirical world we are sure about, underpinning this empirical world we are so sure about, lies a phenomena which is saying the underpinning to reality is non-material. You say, why? What is non-material? I'm not even going to use the word like religious or God or spiritual. I'm just saying it's non-material, full stop. So you cannot explain this reality in terms of matter. You say, okay, it sounds kind of an exotic idea. How do you explain it? Let me show you how you can explain this idea in simple English. Suppose you got one brick, you got another brick, you hit them together, you can hear that nice kind of sound, clicking sound, click. Yeah, it's empirical evidence, I can hear this, the bricks matter. Suppose you thump the bricks together and get a rubber. You can still discern the bricks when you work out all the bits and pieces, that still the two bricks are there. Now, when we look at the underpinning to the brick, the quantum, that is, if like the building block of the creation, there things change dramatically. If you take one quantum, take another quantum and put them together, you may think there's still two quantum messing around. Nope. When you do that in quantum physics, you don't get two quantum when you add two quantas. You get either two quantas, 1.5 quanta, 1 quanta, half quanta, or no quanta at all. Boom, they just merge. There's no energy release, nothing, it just disappears. This is the reason why people feel dizzy when they talk about quantum. They're saying that reality you thought is material, like bricks. Bricks are okay when we look at the world that we see. Underpinning the brick lies a phenomena which is completely different from material world. You can say, how do we define it? Oh, we can call it mathematical, but we can't call it material, guaranteed. So you say, wow, what are we touching base with? A deeper reality that is, if you like, not visible as a material universe, and yet it gives rise to the material universe. This is the reason why quantum is so interesting. The second feature about the quantum that makes it so exciting is this. It shows tremendous interconnectedness with the whole of the creation. Tremendous, instantaneous interconnectedness. I'll just give you an example. Just as I mentioned the bricks. Suppose you got one little elementary particle, is kind of linked with another elementary particle, and then you separate them and put them away 100, 20, 30, billion light years or whatever, as far as you like. And then when you pinch this little chappy here, the other fellow goes, ouch! Instantaneously. See what's happening? There's a connection, a linkage with the whole of the living, the whole of the universe that we see at a deeper level, which is not at the material level. There's no light signal traveling from one little elementary part to the other one. You just know it, boom, they click at the same time. There's tremendous interconnectedness. And you know why this is so important? It shows a deeper reality that underlies all of us. This is what he's suggesting. And this is the latest research at UCL. When they were doing research regarding how does a leaf harness energy from the sun. And remember, the leaf harnessing energy from the sun is the basis of foundation of life on earth. Because when the leaf harnesses energy, it becomes food for the insects, the animals, and humans, and so on. So harnessing, physical, force and turning it into food for us to sustain us is a major issue. And when you see we're trying to kind of understand how this process happens on a leaf, they discover something dramatic. This is why I feel so thrilled. Because this is what they discovered. They said, when the light falls on the leaf, there's only one place in the leaf where this particular energy can be harnessed. The rest is just a waffle. The rest is just molecules wobbling about. They can't help. And unless the light photon enters that particular place, like the Star Wars stuff, you must enter that place to destroy the Death Star. In the same way, unless that light, that photon touches that particular base, it cannot be captured. And you may have seen Al-Khalili doing this lovely documentary about this wonderful discovery of the plant life. They say, how is it possible for that little photon to know exactly where to go? This is another unique feature of the quantum. There seems to be a linkage at the deeper level, which links up this non-material world that we know, the sunlight, and kind of trying to link it with the living kingdom by harnessing it. It seems to assist the process. And when I asked a very interesting biologist, I said, can you explain how the leaf does it? Does it have a special computer saying, okay, photon go this way, turn right, turn left? How does it do that? Oh, we don't know, Mr. Lakhani will sort it out in days to come. This is called drawing blank checks on the future. Scientists have a habit of doing that, watch it. So here we find a fantastic phenomenon right in our face, saying that the way living kingdom harnesses energy from the sun, from the non-living kingdom, is uniquely a quantum phenomena. It's not a material phenomena. There's no guiding, there's no guided missile telling the photon where to go. It just knows where to go. the photon seems to be kind of aware of greater reality. This is again another interesting feature of the quantum. So you see, the quantum gives us a deeper idea regarding what is this all about, or what are we all about. So if you like, right at the cutting edge of modern physics, sits this phenomena which has not been answered for such a long time. You may wonder, why is it so? I mean, such a vast discovery, trillions of photons being captured every moment. Why doesn't the science lobby say, wow, what's going on here? There's some deeper kind of reality we are not aware of that's becoming discovered through this particular simple phenomena. You may say, why aren't they not bothering? And when I look at the Al-Khalili documentary, he said, exactly how the plants master this particular method, we don't know, but we'll find out. You can't master this. Something is already showing a linkage at the deeper level. Now you see, when you are children, perhaps, we are given puzzle books where they say, okay, here is a picture of a living room, and there is a cat hidden in there. Can you find the cat? I'm sure you must have done stuff, puzzles like that. And we scrutinize very carefully at every part of the picture. The sofa, is there camouflage in the sofa? Oh, under the table. Oh, sitting near the fridge. Oh, under the television. We look everywhere in the picture to discern the cat, and we can't find it. And then somebody says, you missed the point. The cat is not a little thing hiding in the little kind of details of the living room. When you really look at the outline of the whole living room, you see a big cat smiling at you. The whole picture is actually exposing a cat right in your face, and yet you couldn't see because you were looking for the cat in the little details, and you won't find it. This is the situation with modern science. Because they're so kind of engrossed in the little nitty-gritty, the big picture, they will say, we'll sort it out later on. This is the big picture coming out of physics. This is just one area I want to touch on, just to show you something deep is kind of unfolding itself through the integrity of science. This is the beautiful part of it. It didn't come out from some wacko hippie guy. From the cutting edge discovery of modern science, it's a phenomena that says, explain me. And they say, we'll do it later on. And this is not a minor phenomena. It's a mind-blowing phenomena, a linkage at the deep level. Let me touch on something else. Just as we are struggling with the smaller than the smallest, the quantum level, this is called the hard problem. How to conceptualize what is going on? They are struggling. And the only way they can sort it out is to say there's something non-material which is allowing a mathematical world to turn into a material world. You need to flip it. You need something they call a conscious observer. And the moment you use words like consciousness, physicists say, go away, Mr. Lakhani, don't bring it in here. Just talking about physical stuff. His consciousness is a waffle, just a fuzz in your brain. So let me go to the next issue that we must explore. Forget about the smaller than the smallest. When you look at the bigger than the biggest picture, again, science shows its, if you like, limitations, its frayed edges. So when I studied physics, I was doing cosmology as well, and Hubble telescope and all that. And I said, oh, wonderful, we know how the world started. Oh, it's a Big Bang. And this happened about 13.7 billion years ago. And we can do this kind of, play the picture, reverse the picture and say, okay, this is how the world must have started. Because the galaxies are moving away so fast, run the picture backward and say, 13.7 billion years ago, 1 point. Big Bang, wonderful. So they say space and time unfolded for creation to come into being. You may be surprised to find this. For the esoteric Hindu tradition, I'm not talking about the temples and the colorful narratives and the words and goddesses. I'm talking about the philosophic heart of Hinduism. For thousands of years, said the following. He said, 3 things unfold for creation to come into being. 3 things? What are they? Solid, liquid, gas, what? No. There's 3 things unfold for creation to come into being. Very ancient teaching, very powerful teaching. No gods and goddesses to set us off. They say, when these 3 things stretch their arms, the universe comes into being. What are the 3 things they talked about? Sanskrit terms are desh, kal, nimit. Space, time, and causation. When they unfold, creation comes into being. And when I was studying physics and Peter, I studied this, this fits extremely well. The only thing is, this Hindu tradition gives one other thing that the modern cosmology does not have. If you ask Stephen Hawkins, Mr. Hawkins, please tell us, what was there before the Big Bang? You like to ask questions like that, surely. And Mr. Hawkins will say, don't ask the question. I told you time started with Big Bang, so the question what was before is nonsensical, it has no meaning. In the same way, I can ask Stephen Hawkins, what caused the Big Bang? Who pressed the button for the space and time to unfold? What churned it out? He isn't an answer. The Hindus have an answer. We say, we need to tell you three things unfold for creation to come into being. Space, time, and causation. The idea of cause and effect, linking the whole of this creation. This comes into being with the Big Bang. So if you ask, what caused the Big Bang? Who caused the Big Bang? That question is irrelevant. Because cause and effect idea comes with the Big Bang, so you can't say who caused the Big Bang. See the depth of Hindu tradition. Talks about a spontaneous creation. It doesn't even give, it even gives you the reason. Don't even ask why or how it started. So that too comes with the Big Bang. So here we are looking at the bigger than the biggest, the cosmological model. Let me tell you the wonderful thing that you may like to hear. Just as in quantum, in physics, we are struggling to make sense of the quantum phenomena conceptually. It's almost impossible to grasp what the heck are we talking about. Check with any scientist in any university. In cosmology, they are also struggling. You may be surprised, oh, we sorted everything, Hubble telescope, everything, we know everything. 30% really know. No. To the contrary, there are big holes in the cosmological model. What are they? They are telling us, in order to understand the creation, all the galaxies moving away from each other, you need to bring in two other elements. One is called dark matter, the other is called dark energy. Now don't think dark means some kind of black chap, say, hello, I'm dark energy, like dark weather, wearing black, gowns or something. Dark in physics means our ignorance is complete. We have no clue what we are talking about. So this is the truth, you check it out. 95% of the known universe is made up of dark energy and dark matter. And you ask a scientist, you talk about the 5%, you're doing so well, look, we love you, we have tremendous integrity, we love science. What about these 95%? They say, don't ask, that's why we call it dark. We have no clue what you are talking about. We just go into the phrase, dark matter and dark energy. So again, the cosmology, the larger than the largest, science is showing its limitation. I'm not saying just because science is showing its limitation, that means religion is good and you must believe in a God. I don't talk to nonsense like that. I'm simply saying, look at the depth of the teaching that comes out of the credibility of science and see there's a deeper dimension being revealed. That's what I'm saying, a deeper dimension of this reality. So here is the bigger than the biggest, we struggle. It's not enough. Then we come to the more complex. The struggle is the bigger than the biggest, the smaller than the smallest, and the complex. What is complex? Life itself. How do you distinguish something that is living from something that is non-living? You can put a marvelous computer with tremendous ability that can do calculation a trillion times faster than you, and yet something is missing there. What is missing? This is what is coming out through this deeper dimension I'm talking about. The thing that is kind of gives this idea that there is something more to matter, more to this living kingdom, comes out as follows. He says, when you look at complexification, it is a very weird phenomenon. It's not reduction, it's not linear. It is non-linear and very complex. How do you define that's called complexification? How do you define life? Every attempt to come to terms with the idea of life, in biological terms, including you can check out Richard Dawkins, seems to fall short of the target. Try it. When you ask Richard Dawkins, what is the aim of life? This is his level of understanding. He says, well, eat, drink, and procreate. Now, many youngsters will be very happy with the third part of the equation. Yeah, that's what we are here for. Procreate. But it shows a very shallow level of understanding regarding nature of humanity. So when you look at the idea of what is life, how do you define life? This is a definition that comes out of Hindu tradition, very different from the normal biological tradition. He says the following. The way you define a living thing from a non-living thing is as follows. All non-living things are in conformity with the laws of physical nature. Physical forces can dictate how they behave. All the physical world that you see around you. Living things, even one single cell being, a living thing is that which is not in compliance with the physical world they encounter, but in defiance of it. It's like to stand up against it. It's a rebellious thing. It doesn't want to play ball with physical force, it wants to stand up against it. What's the best example of this thing, standing up against forces of nature? You chaps. If you're not standing up against forces of nature, you'll be kind of huddling in a cave at the mercy of nature. You say, no way. We know what this nature is all about. We harness it for our betterment and sit in these kind of very warm rooms. Humanity is the best example of something that is in defiance of physical forces, not in compliance with it. So if, for example, humanity was nothing but in compliance with physical forces, as Richard Dawkins would suggest, that you are nothing more, Mr. Lakhani, than accident of evolution, lumps of carbon, nitrogen just got mixed up through accidents of evolution, become this complex feature, there's nothing more to you. He said, no. The very thing that lights up the whole of the living, not me, just the whole of the living kingdom, is something that is not in compliance with the physical world that you see around you, is in defiance, all the time keeps defying you. That is why all of you know why when somebody does the best high jump or long jump or runs fast, we say, that's the spirit. It is in defiance of this physical limitation. Physical, mental limitation seems to curtail our true nature. So we're always fighting against any curtailment, anything that restricts us, we want to fight against it. That's the sign of a living thing. It is not in compliance and defiant. This is where I part company with Richard Dawkins. For example, Hindus have no problem with Darwin, that we are the extension of the animal kingdom. But we don't agree with Dawkins. We say, no, Mr. Lakhani, you are the extension of the material kingdom. Grow up, there's nothing more to you, just lumps of carbon, etc. Just got bound up to accident evolution, there's nothing more. It sounds clever, but it actually takes away the dignity that I possess or the whole of humanity possesses. His version of this aspect is called materialistic humanism. And I guarantee you, youngsters find it very stodgy and very lifeless. And I keep telling the British humanists, this is lifeless. Humanism that you got is lifeless. No, Mr. Lakhani, this is what reality. Live with it. I said, no, we are not, look, you may have perhaps heard Madonna sing, I'm a material girl in a material universe. This is Dawkins' vision. There's nothing more than material beings in a material world. Live with it. There's nothing more to you. No, I say, nothing doing. We are essentially spiritual beings on a material journey. See the contrast. We are in defiance of material force, not in compliance with it. That's why we call ourselves spiritual beings caught on a material journey. This is the transition. So again, when you look at the very complex, we see, a lot of things which cannot be explained in kind of standard biological terms, reveal themselves as something special about us. Let me take a stage further. Just as we have kind of hard problem in physics of explaining quantum, we have hard problem in natural science when you're talking about life, what is life itself. We similarly have a hard problem in neuroscience. Some of you may want to take it up as your profession. It's a wonderful kind of thing, because now neuroscience is so advanced, even when you dream, they can put EEG on your scalp and they can exactly tell you which part of the brain is flickering when you're dreaming. So they can find interrelation between even the dream process or your thinking process with the kind of brain activity. What a clever thing to do, what a wonderful thing. So we have progressed dramatically. So far so good. They say, I love science, actually I'm from the science lobby. But then, there is a hard problem in neuroscience too. So there's a hard problem there as well, everywhere. There seems to be a problem in science everywhere. What's the hard problem in science, neuroscience? You see, if you ask any neuroscientist, a genuine one, a kind of a sincere one, who is kind of humble, what is this thing called consciousness that gives us access to reality? Without consciousness, I can't see you, you can't interact with me. What is this thing called consciousness that gives us access to reality? Ask any genuine, humble neuroscientist. And I had an interaction with Susan Greenfield, and she said, we have no clue. Mr. Lakhani, we have no clue. We don't know what is consciousness. We also don't know which part of the brain creates consciousness. It seems to be everywhere and nowhere. There's no particular place where it comes out. She said, I keep telling the brain scientists, please tell me what experiment I should do on some poor chap, pull out a little kind of tissue from his brain, say, that's where consciousness comes from. There's no such thing. Wow, that's a big problem. So where does consciousness arise from? And again, it's showing a deeper dimension discovered through neuroscience regarding reality. This is very interesting. And at many meetings, some scientists kind of challenge Mr. Lakhani, look, come on, grow up now. Stop all the waffly and woolly stuff, consciousness and all that. We don't believe in stuff like that. Consciousness is purely a brain phenomena. The electrical and chemical activity creates a fuzz in your brain that we call consciousness. There is nothing more. And when you read Daniel Dennett, he'll say, consciousness is like a mismatch between the hardware and the software of your brain. Sounds so clever. To the point, it's not true. What the heck? Just if you invent some a jungle of jargon, that doesn't mean you explain away consciousness. What the heck is this thing that can give us access? There's something serious going on here. And the scientist of Mr. Lakhani is a brain phenomena, grow. There's nothing more to you. I said, no, I don't agree. There's something more. Consciousness is something that comes out of the physical brain. Something else is kind of, seeping through your brain. They said, no. They said, we'll test you out. So we'll come with anesthetic and plug you with that. Your brain function is disturbed and your consciousness is gone. We told you. It sounds so clever. I said, yes, you knocked out my consciousness by just injecting me with some It sounds so clever. But I'm very clever too, hopefully. I said, no. That doesn't answer my question. Suppose the youngster comes into this room and discovers the dimmer switch and starts playing with the dimmer switch. The dimmer switch goes one way and the light comes on. The dimmer switch goes the other way and the light goes off. The little chap will do a simple causal relationship. He'll say the switch creates that. You say, yeah, sounds good. Of course, for a little child, that's the answer. And yet we are so clever. We say, no, my boy, the switch is mere conduit of something that brings up the light. It does not produce light, it is a mere conduit that allows electricity to flow through. We are clever, so there's a deeper thing. Consciousness doesn't come out, the light doesn't come from the switch, it's just a conduit that you can switch on and off. And the same way the Hindus say, see this brain, the physical brain we are so fixated on? It's a mere conduit of consciousness. You require this very complex brain for it to seep through. Even in the single cell being, there is no consciousness, there is cognition, awareness of its environment. And that again so shows it's something different from the non-living kingdom. It allows consciousness to permeate through the system. So the brain is a mere switch for consciousness, does not produce consciousness. So we asked the neuroscientists, what the heck is this? They said, we have no clue, we'll sort it out in days to come. Again, I'm showing you the hard problems of biological sciences, neuroscience, and physical physics. These are not minor things. So it seems like, okay, you've given us some very interesting ideas regarding, it sounds like a science lecture. So how does it help, or how do we get a deeper, kind of handle on reality? This is what I'm suggesting. This is a very ancient teaching that comes from my tradition, but it's the more philosophically oriented Hinduism, not the temple Hinduism. He says, my friends, underpinning to this reality is something dramatically well connected, well linked up, that expresses itself, manifests itself as the physical world. In the physical world, where you see a living thing buzzing, a little single cell being even, that thing is underpinning, is getting a clearer kind of expression, finds a clearer expression of the living thing. And the clearest expression of the underpinning of this reality becomes visible as man and women. This is like the continuation of this thing, this percolating, underpinning this world, coming through, manifesting itself in the material world as living thing and becoming clearly visible as men and women. This is called spiritual humanism. We are suggesting the thing that underpins all of us and kind of percolates through mind and body and looks out through our eyes is something dramatically different from a very materialistic, very stodgy way we think about ourselves. That thing we define as spiritual humanism. In days to come, I'm telling you, the only way I'm telling you, physics is struggling. It is dissipated into 11-dimension space-time. This string theory. It's purely kind of just mental gymnastics, mathematical gymnastics. There's no reality to it. Because that's all, most of the dimensions are called up. That means it's just your figment of your imagination. There's no reality to them. So physics has stopped progressing because you're not prepared to kind of tackle the issue of quantum. Neuroscience is struggling to make sense of what the heck is this consciousness, and again the resolution lies with what I'm suggesting. Underpinning to this reality is manifesting itself with the creation, the physical world we see around us, and becomes more clearly visible as living things, and the clearest vision of that is human beings. So why do I talk like this? I am telling this blatantly. In days to come, within our lifetime, almost all religions will have to change their emphasis, not on a God in heaven, but focusing not on spirituality kind of personified as a superhuman, but seeing spirituality kind of peeping out, seeping out, looking out through the whole of the human kingdom. This is the way, if you like, religions will evolve. They need to move from this very kind of dogmatic idea of focusing on a monotheist God to the idea of seeing God in humanity, seeing and serving God in humanity. Every youth I come across, when I talk to them, I say, yeah, we like that. We don't believe in God, we believe in that. Focusing on humanity, dignifying humanity. So this is the future of all, including Hinduism, this is the future of all religions. They want to kind of shift the emphasis not on God in some super personality. That's a wonderful way of kind of becoming spiritual, by the way. And yet it comes with limitation, with modern science, modern thinking, rationality will immediately say, how can I believe in stuff like that? So, if you like, the evolution of religion, all religions, including Hinduism, will be spiritual humanism. What about evolution of sciences? Scientists are struggling. They will not listen to me because when I talk like this, oh, go away, go away. The only spirit we believe in comes in bottles at Christmas time. Go away, Mr. Lakhani. I said, no, but the spirit I talk about gives you a bigger gift because it tells you are linked to the rest of the living kingdom. There's something grand and great that underpins all of us. That is kind to manifest itself. Do you know how it manifests itself? The thing that is struggling, that all of you will be struggling with, it, you like to break free from limitation. The spirit that is percolating through this body does not like to be kind of, captured in this body and mind. That's why we try and do you know why we like Superman, all the superheroes? Because they break free from the laws of nature. They're fighting, they stand up against it. That's why we love them. Even all the Star Wars stuff, this is what it is. Giving a deeper dimension of humanity, dignifying humanity is something special, manifesting itself through us. When we talk like this, the modern physics, I'm telling you, and they'll come, that's unavoidable. As I said, the cat is so big, it's difficult for them to swallow it. But in days to come, there is no other way for modern physics but to embrace this idea that the underpinning of this reality is non-material, manifesting as material, and yet it is not material. It is spiritual in dimension. Thank you, my friends.
Do you think spiritualism is going to be achieved by humans or other animals with similar brain structures?
Okay. You see, first of all, you are asking what is spiritualism limited to human beings or is it incorporates animals? First of all, let me tidy up. A lot of people use the word spiritualism to mean spirituality. Spiritualism means talking to the dead. Going to media and go, I can be. That's different. Spirituality means something deeper regarding our nature. Now this idea is very important. As I said, the Hindu tradition agrees with Richard Dawkins that we have come out of the animal kingdom and enter the human kingdom. So animals are not something for us to kind of, crunch and munch on. Something we must give them dignity and dignify them. So all life is sacred because we come out of the animal kingdom. So according to the Hindu tradition, the physical body that you possess has been chiseled by natural selection. We agree with Darwin. It's natural selection that decide whether you have 2 arms or whatever, depending on the environment. So the thing that occupies the physical body, the frame that you have, the software, if I can call it, comes according to the, not only Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism come through reincarnation. Something that you already acquired, your cognition ability to make sense of the world, has been acquired over many lifetimes and kind of re-enters another embryo and becomes visible again, finds expression again in a new body. This is very much part of the Indic traditions, reincarnation, not 2 lives in a day. So we say, all of us have come out of the animal kingdom. That's why the world population is growing bigger and bigger because they are coming out from the animal kingdom. And when you look at some of those very jobs, you say, yeah, straight from the animal kingdom. So we kind of have been promoted from the animal kingdom. So consciousness and the idea of spirituality is not just restricted to human beings. It is to be, animals too have to be dignified. In the Hindu tradition, all animals have soul just like human beings, except they're at a rudimentary stage and they will evolve and enter the human kingdom in days to come.
How do we know that other people are actually conscious? How it says because it's just us that
How do we know that other people are conscious? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, in the assembly, maybe some of you are not, I'm not sure. So I can't be sure. The thing is, you see, there is something within us. You see, which, for example, again, they're talking about very highly kind of advanced computers which will be able to become conscious. I'm suggesting, again, some interesting suggestion, that if you bring in, if you like, a human tissue, a brain tissue, or some kind of DNA into the actual physical frame of a computer, then I'm suggesting days to come that computer will have consciousness too. See, some of the first, if you like, the testing point is the DNA. So once if that DNA is there, then consciousness becomes real. Again, at the rudimentary level, even a single cell being, there must be something special about every living thing. Is just aware of its environment. Cognition is be aware of its environment somehow. Even a single cell, you look for light or heat or whatever. So this is the speciality of all living kingdom, and it is not restricted. And again, you see, one of the quick that Stephen Hawking made, which made me smile, is this. In quantum physics, they say the only way you can turn this mathematical reality called quantum into a physical reality we experience is that somebody has to observe it. You need a conscious observer, said Copenhagen interpretation of quantum. Werner Heisenberg, Niels Bohr, and Erwin Schrödinger. So that is, you need a conscious observer for the mathematical world to turn into material world. And the moment he said that, people started making fun. And this is the ongoing dialogue. He said, you mean to say that unless the frog looks at the moon doesn't come into existence? And so he sorted it out. It's pretty nonsense, not true. Because in reality, consciousness is not something that comes out only when a human being says, I'm aware. Consciousness underpins this reality. It manifests itself through all these different forms. So it's not that, if you like, it only becomes manifested when there is a living thing on earth. Consciousness is the underpinning to reality. So it is not something that's produced by material world, it is already the underpinning in which the material world reflects itself. So consciousness is like an ocean. And if you like, the material world is like a little ripple on this ocean. So it's not that, unless the ripple says I'm conscious, the conscious doesn't exist. So when Stephen Hawking made that trip, I said, no, he's going to come and bite him on his backside, because consciousness is the underpinning, if you like, to reality. So it's not only when a frog becomes conscious, it comes into being. It is already there. The frog is just kind of, in a way, linking up with its true nature as consciousness, becoming visible.
So modern philosophers like Thomas Nagel, from a completely, if any of you read philosophy, from a completely different angle, Nagel started as a complete hard materialist, are also saying consciousness is such a strange thing that it can't be absolutely located only in human beings. There must be consciousness out in other things, even maybe inanimate things. This is a philosopher from a completely different tradition from Mr. Lakhani. It's a big problem, really interesting one. Someone else? Yes?
You gave the idea that the human spirit is defined by the fact that we're not in compliance with our own curtailment. Why would you say it's so important for us to constantly grapple with unanswerable questions like the origin of the universe?
You see, there are a few endearing aspects to all living things, including human beings. The endearing aspects are this. First, we like to be free of limitation. This, we feel like, shows the living kingdom. We want to break free. We don't like to be pushed around by material forces, number one. Other thing that is visible is this. There seems to be something trickling out of the whole of the living kingdom, and that is search for knowledge. We are we are nosy Parkers. We can't help what the heck is going on. We look around. Again, this is a sign of the spirit. Because in order for it to escape its limitation, it needs to get a handle on reality so it can get over it. So every time for example, another thing I must touch on, because you may like me for this. When you see all these mathematical squibbles, with Einstein standing in front and all this delta, delta and all that, you say headache. You say, what the heck is going on? It's frightening. Let me just remove that mystery. Mathematics, especially this very complex mathematics requiring quantum, etc., is nothing more than symbolic mental gymnastics. So just as you would use mental, kind of specialized vocabulary to talk to each other or use it to make fun, etc., in the same way, in order for us to get a finer and finer grasp of reality, we have developed this wonderful faculty called symbolic manipulation. So this, if you like, this ability to get a finer and finer grasp of reality, to develop very elaborate mathematical language. So when you see all these deltas, all these upside downs, it's just nothing but mental gymnastics, and you require a symbolism to kind of go through the process of mental gymnastics to get a finer grasp of reality. So when you see it like this, it's okay, it's just a bit of kind of gymnastics like you see in Olympics. That's what they're doing. But it works. In fact, there's something interesting. Bernard Russell was asked once, because he's perhaps the best mathematician England has produced. He was asked, what is mathematics? He's a very good chap. He said, I have no clue what it is. We all have it and it seems to work. Full stop. And this shows the clear thinker. He recognized that this is, if you like, expressing our metaphysical dimension. Mathematics is nothing but a metaphysical dimension we possess that we use to make sense of the world. And this is an endearing aspect of all living kingdom. We are keen to sort of, because the only way we can escape this limitation is to make sense of the world that we live in and resolve our human condition. So we need this kind of ability to make sense of the world that we live in. So intellectualizing or trying to get a handle on reality is naturally inbuilt in the whole of the living kingdom.
Thank you. We have time for one. Yeah.
So if the sports then all sub-Pentecostals and they're elected, does
suggest a level of control over our decisions.
Can you capture?
Okay, this is very interesting. We are talking, I suppose you're asking about free will, that whether all this electronic activity in your brain is dictating how you think and how you behave. This is a very interesting thing that philosophers have been struggling for thousands of years. If we are kind of chiseled, because look, we believe in law of cause and effect. Once the universe comes into being, cause and effect links up everything. You can't avoid it. Causation is the central. This whole science is nothing but exploration of causation, cause and effect, electromagnetism, gravitation, whatever you call it. Just causation. This causes this. Fine. So the issue arises. If everything is controlled by cause and effect, even your thinking process surely has been chiseled by the way your hardware operates as well as the way you've been brought up. So nature and nurture should dictate the way you think and what you express. So this is my personal individual opinion. It's been chiseled. Chaps, you have no freedom. So this is terrible. Are we just cogwheels in a machine? Answer comes very beautifully. This is again the sign of the spirit. At every moment of time, every living thing thinks. It is not controlled by nature and nurture. It's trying to break free from both nature and nurture. Every moment of time. The moment you don't want to break free from nature and nurture, know it that you are dead. It's a sign of life. Every moment of time, we think we have free will. Whether we have, it's not an issue. We think we have. That shows that you are the spirit. How you express yourself, of course, is going to be guided by your nature and nurture. You can't avoid it. You are caught, but you are caught in this material trap, and you are trying to break free from that. That's a sign of the spirit. I think I should finish with that. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you.